Hello and welcome to another vlog. Monster Kitty in the background. I usually start vlogs immediately after I finish the prior one because I normally finish the vlog, edit it, and then start filming the next one like a day or two after. And it's been like weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, and I've yet to edit that vlog. I had yet to start a new vlog, so we're doing that now. I'm tired. It's the 22nd of December. I work retail, so Christmas is a lot. Christmas time is a lot, and the CEO of the grocery store I work at, this, giant mega grocery store chain that's one of the largest grocery retailers in the world, probably, decided that he was gonna come visit my store 3 days before Christmas. So booktube's not been a thing at all. Yeah, I have read a bit. Let's talk about the first book. I went to work at 4 a.m. this morning, so I'm tired. Hello, Spleen. I'm trying to film Monster Kitty. She just laid on the book that I was going to talk about. Excuse me. Honey. She's so special. After Anna by Alex Lake. 2 stars. I didn't like it. Hi. Are you just like getting into everything? She's gonna attack the camera in a minute, just watch her. But this is about a woman whose 5-year-old daughter is kidnapped, and then, as the tagline said, the real nightmare starts when her daughter is returned. Yay, fun thriller. I thought most of this book was going to be about the time after her daughter was taken. Or not taken, after her daughter was returned, like after she had her daughter again. And not so much. Because, it's called After Anna. The whole thing is her daughter being kidnapped is... She's trying to push her way through my shower door. Special kitty. She understands doors, but, I don't think she can open that one. It's kind of, clicked real hard. That's the whole, thing about this book is that, her daughter's kidnapped, but then she's returned and the real drama starts, Which kind of made me think that, that was going to be the majority of this book, and it really wasn't. I think it was probably, halfway or just over halfway when her daughter was found. Yeah, so that was kind of, not my favorite thing. That's not, an inherently bad thing. It just wasn't what I was expecting. And then so much of this book was, really cringe to me. And I don't mean cringe in that it was poorly done. I just mean cringe in I can't watch things that give me secondhand embarrassment because they just make me want to die, and it's just so unpleasant for me, just the most unpleasant experience. This wasn't secondhand embarrassment, but it was that, only with just cringe. You could see this person making a mistake, and you could just see how it was going to play out and how it was going to make them look bad, and how it was going to negatively affect their life, and that the people lying would use that against them. And you could just see it, and I just cringed so much. Oh, this is so easy. Just don't do that. I hated that. It's just one of those things of it didn't make me cringe because it was bad. It was just the actual situations were kind of cringe. I don't think it would make most people cringe, if that makes sense. It's just it's a secondhand embarrassment thing. If you get secondhand embarrassment watching things, it's you just can't sit through that. And this was kind of a similar vibe for me. So I wouldn't not recommend it. I think the thing that bugged me too was also that it was really predictable who the kidnapper was, because there are a very limited number of people in this book, and you kind of narrow it down and you kind of realize fairly early what's going on. And then because that's the only part of the book that holds any real interest, at least for me, it was just kind of huh, and then it was over, and then, yeah, I don't know, not, like, bad, I'm just so picky about thrillers. Like, I love thrillers in concept, on principle, I love thrillers, but, like, in general, I tend to give thrillers, like, 2 stars, because I'm so picky, and I just, like, hate most of them, so, I don't know. It wasn't, like, the worst thing I've ever read, but it was just, like, I really wanted to love it. I think that's what got me the most, was just that I so wanted to love this book, and I just didn't, so it was, like, really, really disappointing. Like, I definitely didn't hate it, it just, like, definitely wasn't for me. It was just, like, I wanted to love it so much that was, like, the bigger disappointment than the actual book itself. So after that, I decided to go for something I've been wanting to read for a really, really long time, because, like, when you have high expectations for one thing and it lets you down, just go in with high expectations for a completely different thing. So I started reading Unbelievable by T. Christian Miller and Ken Armstrong. This is nonfiction. It's about a serial rapist. Basically, an 18-year-old was raped. She reported it and then got bullied into changing her statement and saying, like, no, actually, I wasn't raped. And then come to find out there's a serial rapist and she was one of the victims. And she was charged with, like, a false report. And I honestly thought it was going to be more about her. But it's not so much. It's about, like, the rapist and the cops who track him down. So, I didn't expect it to be so much about the cops, to be perfectly honest, which is my fault, because literally the last sentence of the tagline says, this is the story of 2 detectives' relentless search for the truth. So, like, it was clearly going to be about the cops. I'm not very far in, just, like, a bit. And so far, it's, like, really introductory. It's really just, like, the poor girl was raped and had such a hard life, and then tried to report it, and tried to, like, do, you know, what people consider, like, the right thing, and got bullied into, like, changing her statement, and got charged with making a false report. So that sucks. Hello. It's also, this book is a little bit, the writing style is a little bit dry. Hello. Keep up. Bye. The writing sounds a little bit dry, like, very standard, like, news article kind of style, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I don't dislike it. It's just that, like, I don't know. It's not doing a whole lot, which I don't think is necessary, because, like, the story's being told and the story itself is interesting. Like, they did tons of research to get this story well told. It's just, I don't think the writing style really contributes much. Which I feel like is kind of the point in things like this, because people want to, like, take their writing and their style and their personality out of it. But I like writing with a lot of personality. So, but so far it's good. Like, it's one of those books that, like, the point is what happened, you know? So even if the writing style kind of falls a little bit flat for me, it's gonna be worth it, because it's such, like, I don't know. I just want to read it. I'm gonna go read it, because I'm sitting here, like, trying to come up with words to say, and my brain is just, like, turned off. I've been working so much lately. But yeah, I'm gonna read this, try to get my other vlog edited so I can get that posted, because I missed last Thursday's video, because I just could not. I couldn't. But I'm hoping come post-Christmas, come the new year, working in a grocery store will be easier. I hope. So I'm dog sitting this week, and I've come to the conclusion that there are better books I could be reading while dog sitting alone in an unfamiliar house than a book about a serial rapist who breaks into women's homes while they're alone. So, yeah, this was a brilliant decision on my part. Good book, super informative, very anxiety inducing, and if I were at all intelligent, I would probably be picking up another book while I'm here. Since I've been dog sitting, I have been kind of doing a lot. I mean, not a lot, but, like, relative to what I normally do, because I don't have internet here. Mostly because I'm an idiot and forgot to ask the Wi-Fi password the first time I came to dog sit, and now it's like I spent a couple of weeks here, like cumulative, and it's like now I'm just like too awkward to ask for the password because like I've just been staying here for so long without it and didn't say anything. So like, yeah, so basically all I have to do is read and edit videos, unless I like bring a DVD or download stuff from Netflix, which I do as well. But without internet, there's a lot less just like killing time on YouTube or Twitter or Reddit or whatever. So that's good. I finished Unbelievable today because I was mostly trying to get it done before it got like late, because like I couldn't spend another night reading this before bed. I just couldn't. It made me so anxious last night, and it's so good. Like I didn't want to put it down because I was really just like into this book, but it was hard to read. So 4 stars, really good, really worthwhile. This is one of those books that's just all about the research, you know, just like the amount of information that these 2 reporters came up with, and just like everything is so impressive. Just like there is so much information about like the rapists, about the victims, about the detectives, about like the actual investigation. Like it was impressive. I think the writing style was a little bland for my taste, because it was very like they were trying to tell an objective story, like just like relay the information and not like put themselves into the story, which I think is valid. And I don't think they were doing it like, I think sometimes that can be done in like a very fake way. You see it a lot with like political stuff where it's like fact-based but also like very, very biased, whereas this did just seem like they were trying to take themselves out of the story and just like relay the information that they found. And I think they did it really well, and it was just like the way it unfolded was just like, it was really, really well done. I would recommend this. I didn't super love the non-linear format of this, but like there's only so many times I can sit here complaining about non-linear formatting in books. Like that's just me. That's my own problem. So I do highly recommend this one. It was hard to read. It's really graphic. There's a lot of rape in it, obviously, and there's a lot of like victim blaming, and because it's about a girl who was forced to, the police basically just bullied her into recanting and then charged her with a false report. And like so hard to read, but like so good. So if you can, I would recommend picking up this book. But it was hard, which I don't say a lot, but I feel like I've been saying a lot recently. So I don't know, maybe I'm becoming more sensitive with old age, but this was a really good, worthwhile book. Like I kind of knew I was gonna like it from when I heard about it, and I'm so glad I read it and did like it. I'm probably not gonna edit another video tonight because I'm tired. I just got off 6 shifts in a row at work, and it's just a lot. I made so much money this week. Like I did bring 4 books with me, which was kind of ridiculous and unnecessary, because like I literally still go home every day. It's just that I have to be here to let the puppies out and spend the night with them, and like I brought 4 books. I'm obviously not going to read all of them while I'm here, especially the one. I think putting the one onto this list was a little bit like optimistic, because I really want to read it. Like honestly, if I was at home of like all of these books, I would 100% pick this one up next, because I'm totally vibing it. But like also it looks weird. It is weirdly long. I don't know why this book is like so oddly shaped. I don't like it, but it's whatever. It's like a mass market, but just like a really tall mass market. Just like it's absurd. It's proportions so wrong. Anyway, I just don't think I can handle another thriller right now. Like if I was at home, I would totally read this and be fine, but just like sitting in an unfamiliar house in the dark, not gonna happen. So I feel like most likely what I'm gonna wind up reading is Daughter of the Reich, which I don't remember what it's about, but I assume it's about the daughter of someone in the Nazi party who realizes that they are the bad guys. Like, it's called Daughter of the Reich. Like, that's probably what it's about. It's heavy. How long is this book? Oh, this is like 500 pages long. Jesus. That's long. Yeah, these pages are really, I was like, this is heavy for like how small it is. This is a 500-page book. It doesn't look it, but like, wow. So this is what I'm gonna read next. Oh, she falls in love with a Jewish guy. So this will be fun. It's not like necessarily what I'm super vibing right now, because I would just really love to read the one, but like, just realistically, I can't right now. I can't. That book is just, it's gonna have to wait for me to be at home and feel comfortable in my situation and not just like give me a panic attack while I'm sitting in this strange house with strange noises. But hopefully this one's good. This is another arc that I got, so I'm still trying to make my way through those. Spleen, do you like your Christmas present? I thought I found an update from my last clip, but I was checking and apparently I hadn't, which makes sense because I don't know, but I got sick. Yeah, my COVID test was negative, but I'm kind of thinking it's probably COVID, so there's that. But it's giving me time to catch up on my reading because I'm literally too sick to do anything but read. So I finished Daughter of the Reich. I read it in one day. I don't know that I'd actually started this book when I was talking about it before. I think I just said I was going to read it. And I'm sorry for my vocal fry. It's like 18,000 times worse than it usually is. But I finished this. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I was like torn between 3 and 4, but like, I'm sick. Let's just go ahead and give it 4. It was really good. Well, it was kind of good. It flowed really well. I had some issues with it, but it's one of those books that if you like this kind of thing, I would recommend it. It was a little bit more romance heavy than I was expecting it to be, because it is a romance. Well, it's not a romance novel, but like the romance is kind of a major part of the story, but I was thinking it was going to be like not the only major focus of the story, and it was kind of like the only major focus of the story. And when reading it, it flowed really, really well, which I loved, and like it made it really easy to just like sit down and read this whole book and just like enjoy the experience. But kind of the problem was that the romance and everything around that and the main points were really well developed, but it was like secondary things were less well developed. Like she had this friendship with this girl who was her best friend, and it just, she was there a lot, but it kind of felt a little underdeveloped compared to like the romance. And I don't know, it felt like anything that wasn't the main focus kind of was a little bit flat to me, if that makes sense. But I really enjoyed it, and it's one of those that I would recommend. It's such like, it just flows so well. I love a book that just like flows. But yeah, I would recommend this one. It was good. Like, I don't know that I'm gonna keep this copy. I might. I'll think about it, because it was just more romancy than I really enjoy. And I don't know. 4 stars. Let's stick with 4 stars because I don't care. Let's be happy. Ratings don't mean anything anyway. So that was a solid read. I don't know. It could have been better. I didn't love it. I wanted to love it, and it was just kind of like, it was good. Now I'm reading Comeback by Clairefontaine and Mia Fontaine. My thoughts. I'm like halfway through-ish. I feel like I've been reading this book 4 times longer than I read the other one. And this is like, what, a 300-page book? This is a 300-page book, and that is like a 500-page book. I'm halfway through, and I'm pretty sure it's taking me like 12 times as long. It's a lot. This is nonfiction. It's a memoir that is co-authored by the mother and daughter. At like 14 or 15, the daughter gets addicted to drugs and starts running away from home a lot and getting into trouble. And basically the mother sends her to this, I don't know how to describe it. One of those schools that's meant, it's meant for like behavior modification. Like, it's not a rehab, it's meant for like troubled teens. Kind of questionable. Apparently they had a good experience according to this book, so good for them, I guess. I thought it was gonna be more about her drug addiction and more about like rehab and coming off of drugs, and it's a lot less that. Like, the drugs are there, but the drugs seem kind of like secondary, kind of. And I thought it was gonna be not more well written. I thought it was gonna be more like 50-50 between the mother and daughter, and it just seems like 90% of this book is written by the mother, and then the daughter has like occasional paragraphs that are like italicized, so you can tell it's different, and it's just like kind of more stream of conscious thoughts. I'm trying to think when the daughter's first section was, just to like kind of illustrate. We're on page 15. Okay, on page 17 she has a handful, no wait, page 15, that was right the first time. On page 15 she's got about 3 paragraphs, and then it just goes back to the mother for another like 20 pages, and then she'll get another few actually more than 20 pages. I haven't seen anything else from her. Okay, so on page 15 and 17 she has a little, and that's it for part 1 of this book, which is unfortunate because I was much more interested in her perspective in this. All you really get from her perspective is a lot of like stream of conscious stuff and not really like what she's going through. It's more like her addressing her mother directly, or like her literal feelings at the time devoid of context, and I don't know, it is kind of disappointing, that aspect. And then like there are just some problems. I have some issues with the mother. She seems super codependent with her daughter, and like it seemed like a very unhealthy relationship. And she started the book by saying, oh, like, my daughter was so happy, she never had any troubles, like, I don't know why, she just like ran away with no warning signs whatsoever. And that's how it goes. And then like you start a couple chapters later and she's like, yeah, my daughter'd been in therapy, she was sexually abused a lot as a child by her father, and she'd been cutting the last like year or two, and she was like really depressed and withdrawn. And I'm like, okay, so like 40 pages ago you told me this was a happy-go-lucky kid who had no issues. Like, it was just like one of those ways to start the book that was just like, I feel immediately lied to. And she also is just like really mean to her daughter sometimes, and like her daughter's running away from home and getting into trouble and doing lots of drugs and being cruel to her mother, and I get that. But she walked into juvie once and she was like, oh, there's this red-eyed bitch who I wish wasn't my daughter. And I'm like, why would you describe your daughter like that? A, even in your head, like, that's a lot. And B, in this book that you apparently co-wrote with her, so she knows you called her a bitch. And another time she said she did her makeup like a whore. And like, her daughter is 15 in this book. Well, like, I mean, I think her age ranged from like 14 to 16 during like the time period of this book. And her mother's also like really, really classist, and like she keeps going on about like, I don't want to be her mother anymore, I don't want anything to do with her anymore. I'm like, she stuck her in this place for troubled teens. Was not open all that long, like 2 years, I think, or a couple years. I googled it just because I was curious if it was still open. No, it's not still open. It got shut down for child abuse, and the 2 owners were arrested and then fled the country. That was in the Czech Republic, for the record. And that was their second facility for troubled teens that had been shut down for child abuse. The first was in Mexico, so like, I can't fathom sending your child there. That seems beyond questionable. And they're also like former cops from Utah, and It's a whole mess. I'm not a fan. I don't really have much positive to say about this. I'll probably give it 2 stars just because I don't hate it that much. It's more like worthless than anything. But like, I was kind of looking this up and all I saw was positivity about this book, and I don't understand. Like, I really don't understand. I don't like this. It's going in the unhaul pile as soon as I finish it. But like, and I thought it was going to be more about their struggles together, and instead it just kind of is like, oh, she ran away from home and I shipped her off to this place for like a year and a half and didn't interact with her, is kind of where the book is at right now. So I'm not loving this one, wouldn't recommend this one. But if you want to read Daughter of the Reich by Louise Fein, I recommend checking that out, because if it sounds like your kind of thing, you would probably really enjoy that book. So I am sick. Obviously, I didn't really want to film any part of the vlog because I feel gross, but I've also like read 3 books since the last time I updated, which was like 2 days ago. So I kind of thought I might just like get it out of the way, because I don't know when I'll feel better, and I don't want to have a backlog of like 8 books, because all I've been doing is reading the past several days because I just feel awful. I still think it's COVID, but the COVID test was negative, so we'll see. Come Back by Clairefontaine and Mia Fontaine. I can't actually remember if I said the title the last time when I introduced this book. Finished it, 2 stars. Don't really have any thoughts. I will say the one thing I'd like to notice, they actually discussed the closing of the facility that she put her daughter in. Her daughter was there for like 6 months or something. And yeah, they discussed how the cops came and shut it down. Which I was surprised about. I wasn't expecting that to be addressed at all. So like, kudos for addressing it. But they also said like, all the kids who claimed abuse rescinded their claims, which like, you can literally like Google it and see that that's not true. There's still people who say they were abused there. So I don't know. I wasn't really impressed by this one. 2 stars. It's going in the unhaul pile. I didn't really have many thoughts about it, but it did seem very, very culty. Like, the way they talked about that facility and the other ones that her daughter went to just seemed like infinitely culty and abusive. Like, they were saying it wasn't abusive, but even the way they described it made it sound abusive. Like, when they left, because like it got shut down, so they had to leave to go to a different facility, they were driving in the car and the daughter was looking out the window and was like, oh my god, I haven't seen the moon in 6 months. And it's like, that's wild. That's wild. But yeah, I finished that one, and then I wasn't really vibing anything that like I was gonna care about, because I'm too sick to read something that I'm gonna care about. So I picked up Most Likely by Sarah Watson. I got this. It's an ARC. I mean, like, it's published now, but it was an ARC when I picked it up. I got this for a specific reason. It was for a book club that wound up not happening. And I really... She's a wild child over there. I really thought about unhauling this because it didn't sound like my kind of thing. It's a YA book, but it's very much about, like... It's these 4 group of friends, and one of them in the future is going to become the president. And there's a prologue that's, like, one of them being president. And then you have to, like... guess which one throughout the book until you get to the end, and it kind of didn't really appeal to me. But reading it, the part about the president seems like wholly unnecessary to me. Like, it could have just been about like, because the rest of the story is really good, and the part about the president has like no bearing on anything except the prologue and epilogue. You could literally just read the rest of this book and it's a really nice story about 4 friends in high school. Didn't really have high expectations for it, because I do like my YA contemporaries to be a little bit heavier. I mean, like, just in general, I prefer my books to be a little bit heavier and darker, but I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars. It surprised me. It's gonna stay on my shelf, which I really didn't expect. The author was a writer for Parenthood, which I think was one of the reasons I didn't unhaul it. And it was really, really good. If you like YA about, like, friendship groups and, like, heartwarming experiences and just, like, kids dealing with coming of age, like, it was good. It was a good one. Yeah, like, I have really no complaints about this book. I think you can honestly, like, disregard the whole bit about becoming president, because that's kind of, like,
I don't want to say irrelevant, but like, had they deleted the prologue and the epilogue, I don't think it would have felt like anything was missing. It was just like a good book about these friends. So I highly recommend this one. It was fun. It was really enjoyable. It made me cry, but I think that's more just because like I'm sick and overtired than like the book being that sad. Like, it wasn't like sad, it was more cry in like a relatable way, kind of. I don't know, but I really, really liked it. I was thoroughly surprised by this. And this is why I tend to read like all kinds of books, even if they don't sound like my thing. Because like, I'm so glad I wound up reading this. Like, it made me really happy. And now I am reading Only Daughter by Anna Snoekstra. This is about a 16-year-old who disappeared, and then 11 years later, a young woman pretends to be her in order to get out of being arrested, and sort of like goes into that family to kind of fill her role, and then realizes that whatever happened is still a drama. And it kind of follows in the past the 16-year-old who disappeared, but also in the present the adult woman who's pretending to be her. And I've seen this plot in like several cop shows, and I was just kind of vibing something that wasn't going to be that much effort. It's kind of short. It's like less than 300 pages in a mass market format, so I just kind of wanted something easy, and it's okay so far. It's not like amazing. It's basically got the two mysteries of what happened to Beck and why the main girl doesn't want to be caught by the cops because she was really afraid of being fingerprinted, so they would find out who she really was. And it's interesting. I like it. I don't know that it's going to be anything amazing, but I am enjoying it so far, and I'm going to go finish dying now. I actually set up my tripod to film this clip of the vlog because I have like a stack of 4 books to talk about here. I have been updating the vlog pretty regularly, relative to like what I have been doing the past couple months. Like filming a clip every like 3 days or so. But the problem is I've just been reading nonstop because, again, I feel bad. And when I feel bad, I just kind of read because I'm too tired or sick to do anything else. Hello, honey. She's playing with her little chew toy. She likes. Come over here. She really likes. So I just got a stack here. Which is what I'm gonna go through. Only Daughter by Anna Snoekstra. I talked about this briefly. I finished this 2 stars. I was kind of all set to give this book 3 stars for being just like utterly mediocre and forgettable, but then I got to the end and there was like a bunch of animal abuse and kind of like the ending didn't do anything for me, and I was just pissed at the animal abuse, to be honest, because I just find it so unpleasant to read, and it just like was such a sour way to end this book, just like left an unpleasant taste in my mouth, made me cringe, made me just like really disgusted by this. I wish there were warnings for that. Like, it's one of the things I wish there were trigger warnings for, just because like I find it thoroughly unpleasant to read, and I will not like any book that has animal abuse. So 2 stars. I'm not saying the animal abuse ruined it. I don't think it was a good book, but I think maybe I just would have given it 3 stars and been like, forgettable, fine, if it weren't for that. But yeah, I wasn't particularly fond of this one. I'm never gonna think about it again. So, Spleen's playing under the tripod, which is why it's rocking. All the Rage by Courtney Summers. I kind of just decided I was going to pick up a reread that I knew I would love, and I was just like too sick to read out something that I thought I would like really enjoy, you know? Like, I was trying to pick up books from my shelves that seemed kind of mediocre, but then after that thriller, I didn't want to pick up another thriller. I mean, this is pretty close, but like, so this is about a girl who was raped, and it's set a year later, about just like her life and what's happened to the girl who was raped, because no one believes her. And it's kind of got thrillery aspects, but it's definitely a YA contemporary. It's one of my favorites. I adore Courtney Summers. I gave it 5 stars again.
I'd been waiting to reread this for a while, and it kind of just seemed like it was time to sit down and just read through this whole book, and just like, it made me happy. Like, the characters are so well done in this, the writing's great, the storytelling's great, like, Courtney Summers is just wonderful, and I highly recommend her, and I highly recommend this book. I think it's a lovely book, and yeah, kind of dark. Like, it's definitely contemporary, but it's like a dark contemporary, and it's definitely got some thriller-y elements. Like, there's a missing girl in here, and obviously she's raped, and obviously like horrifically bullied and all of that, but it's so good. Yeah. And then I decided I was going to read The Home for Unwanted Girls by Joanna Goodman. This is about a mother and daughter in the 1950s. A girl in Quebec falls in love with the boy next door, the farm boy next door. He's poor and French, and her parents are like, he's not good enough for you, and they decide to send her away, but she gets pregnant first, and then she has to give the child up for adoption. The child gets sent to a foundling hospital, and this book is basically about the mother who got pregnant, had to give her up, like was forced to give her up, and like her life after that, as well as the child growing up in the hospital, growing up in an orphanage, and then eventually growing up in a mental institution, because that was what happened to a lot of orphans at the time. Really sad. I think I gave it 4 stars. It was just like interesting. Like, there was a lot about like the time period. Like, it was clearly one of those things that Joanna Goodman had probably found out and researched and was really interested in. And she wrote this book because it was so interesting to her, and that definitely came through. Like, there was a lot of historical elements and a lot of like about like the laws and like how things worked, and it was really, really interesting for that reason. But there was kind of a distance in the book, like between the story and the reader. I don't know how to really describe it well, but it wasn't very like, when you read a book and you feel really emotionally close to it, because the writing makes you feel close to the characters and close to their story, and just like you feel emotionally tied to it. This book, I didn't really feel like that. Like, the writing was kind of set at a distance. Like, you got their thoughts, but it was kind of like, I don't know, like there was a barrier between you and the characters, so I didn't really like connect to it the way I wanted to. But I still think it was a good book. It was one of those books where you're just like, you just want a happy ending. Like, you want things to like finally go right for once, and just like, it was really interesting. It made me happy. I really liked it. I would definitely recommend it if you like historical fiction like this. I think it's a good one. Yeah, I thought it was good. I have another one of her books, so I'm definitely excited to read that one, because this one turned out really good. The other one's like set in the 90s at a British boarding school, I think. I want to say European boarding school, I think. I don't know. But I feel like I'll definitely be reading that one kind of soon, because this one was kind of just like the vibe I wanted, of like interesting, easy to follow, not like difficult or overly thought-provoking. Like, emotional, but not overly thought-provoking, because I just like have no brain going on right now, so I can't read like any interesting nonfiction books. So I'm just reading things that are just like interesting and good, and not necessarily like anything that's going to be a lot of effort for me. But this one was really, really good. And then I just like keep reading everything. I started feeling a little bit better, so I was like, let's pick up something that I think might be good. And I'm just looking at the back, and I'm like, oh god, Chris Bajalian blurred this. I just don't like him. The Book of Essie by, who's it by? Maclean Weir. I heard people talking about this on BookTube a couple years ago in like 2018 or 2019. I don't remember who. It was like a couple of different booktubers. And I'm not sure any of them really described the book that much in terms of like plot. Because when they described it, I was like, that sounds amazing. I want to read it. But I had no idea what it was about. Like, literally not a clue. Didn't know what genre it was. Didn't know if it was contemporary or fantasy or science fiction. Didn't know like anything. But I really wanted to read it, and I really just had this vibe that I was going to love it. So I just started reading it today, and like, can I just say, I had no idea what this book was going in, But I was absolutely right, and I adore it. Like, I'm not that far in, but I'm just loving this. This is wonderful. It's I was gonna say YA contemporary. I think it's an adult contemporary book. Does it say? Because this is an ex-library edition. No, I think it is adult. It's hard because one of the characters is 17, like two of the point of view characters are like 17. So it does vibe like coming of age, but I think it's an adult book. It's about this girl who's a preacher's daughter who gets pregnant. I think who the father is like a big mystery and a big deal. And basically it's just her parents trying to decide what's going to happen to her, what they're going to do. And they're like, here's the deal, we're going to marry her off. And she's like 17. And they have to find like a suitable husband and all of that. And then the other point of view characters are this guy she goes to school with who, like, I assume is the suitable husband they're going to find for her. Just by the way the narration is, like, that's the only reason he would be a point of view character, I would assume. And then this other woman who was previously like her, I forgot to mention, her father's a preacher, but he's like a famous preacher, like, and the family has like a reality show, like the Duggars kind of, that's just like about their lives and like living through Christ or whatever. Like, it's very, very like they're religious. But it's really, really good. Oh, the other point of view, I think I got distracted. I'm so tired. Like, my brain is just not functioning. The other point of view is this woman who went to journalism school who grew up kind of like Essie did. The main character's name is Esther. She goes by Essie. Kind of like her, in a very like overbearing religious family, kind of in the spotlight. She wrote a book when she was 14 that was very like, it's not really been discussed super much, but it was very described as like very judgmental Christian right-wing fundamentalist book. When she was 14, that was very like anti-gay, anti-sex, anti-abortion, anti-whatever. And she got famous for that, and she's been trying to distance herself from that. And it's just like the three characters and their lives, and like I assume they're dovetailing to a point where like who got Essie pregnant is going to be like a very big deal, and also Essie's trying to track down her older sister who left the family. There's kind of a lot going on, but in like a really good way. It's wonderfully written, it's wonderfully woven together, and I just like adore it. Like, my instincts were spot on here. Like, this is 100% the book for me. I don't remember what people said about it, but like however they described it must have been great, because this book is wonderful, and like, again, not that far in, but so far I would highly recommend it.
Every time I go to vlog, Spleen just gets infinitely loud. So at this point, I'm just like, I need to update the vlog. Once again, I have like 3 books to talk about here because all I've been doing is reading. I finished the book of Essie, which was fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars. Second book I finished in 2022 and it was 5 stars. So starting the year off with a bang. I'm pleased. I don't really have anything to add on this book except that it was wonderful, and I'm really mad that this is the author's only novel, because I immediately went and was like, let's read more from her. This is her only published novel. So it was great though. My instincts were spot on about this one, and I'm thrilled about that. It was just lovely. I loved it. So yeah, I got the vibe that I would, but I wasn't expecting it to be like a full 5 stars. And then I decided to read Wild Princess by who? Mary Hart Perry. This is a historical fiction novel about Princess Louise, who is one of the daughters of Queen Victoria. It's set mostly when she's like in her 20s after she gets married, and I didn't expect that. I thought it was going to be more when she was younger, because it describes her as the wild one, and she fought the constraints placed on her and her brothers and sisters. And I don't know, I thought it was going to be more like about her as the person, and it's definitely more straight romance, which isn't a bad thing, but
wasn't really what I thought I was getting into here. So 2 stars. I also didn't think it was particularly well done. I don't think it was like terrible. I definitely would have enjoyed it more had I been looking for it to be a romance instead of thinking it was more like historical fiction first, romance second. And it's definitely like romance first, everything else second. Not a romance novel, I think. Pretty close. I don't know. I know there are specific constraints on the romance novel genre, but if it wasn't that, it was pretty close to that. But it was just like, I don't know how to describe it. It felt like I didn't really like the romance in it. I don't think they had very much chemistry. It was a lot of like women swooning and men not taking no for an answer, like that kind of vibe, and I wasn't super down. And then there was this whole plot of the Irish nationalists against like the Queen and the royal family, which was just like one of the least interesting things I've ever read. And when I kind of just, spleen, do not attack my phone, excuse me.
She's so bad.
She's bad. This is her. You're just awful. Truly awful. So awful. You're gonna fall.
This is what I live with.
So yeah, not my kind of thing. I think if you are into this kind of thing, you would enjoy it more than me, but I also didn't think it was like that well done. I thought it was okay for what it was doing, but I also just didn't really enjoy what it was doing, and I didn't think it was doing a particularly great job at that. So this is probably going in the unhaul pile. Honestly, this was mostly just my bad because I expected it to be something different than it was. When I read the back of it, I only read the first half, and the first half is all about Louise. It's all about who she is and what she wants to do, and there's a scandal and all of this stuff. And then it's only when you get to like the final third of the description that it kind of basically tells you it's going to be a romance novel, or at least like the point of it is the romance of the characters. So I don't know. I should have read the whole thing, but also sometimes it gets a little spoilery. I usually only read the first half. So that was my bad. You know, we live with that. So then I started reading Children of Nazis by Tanya Krasnayansky, translated by Molly Goodman. This is a nonfiction book about children of Nazis. Basically, each chapter is about a different offspring of a famous Nazi. The first one is about Himmler's daughter, the second is Göring's daughter, etc., etc., etc. And it just goes along. I'm not that far in. I read the preface in 2 of the chapters about Himmler and Göring, and I don't know what I really expected with this book. I'm just trying to think of like how to describe it. I thought it was going to be really interesting. Like it would delve into like the thought processes of the children and who they were and like their reactions and their lives post-war and a lot of stuff. And I think I'm trying to explain. I don't think that's possible because I think a lot of these people didn't want to talk to the press, didn't want to like deal with who their fathers were. Each chapter is like 20 to 25 pages, so there's only 20 to 25 pages to deal on each person, and a good significant portion of that is really spent on who their father was, what he did during the war, and who they were in German society, basically, during the war, which doesn't really leave a whole lot for like after. And I think it's just because there's not that much information on them, and I think it's not possible to find that much information on them, if that makes sense. I don't think it's possible to do like a really in-depth look on their lives because I don't think most of the people here have allowed for that. So I think it's just like there's a reason there aren't a lot of books like this, and I think it's just because that information's not out there. And so far, I mean, it might change. Like, it might just be that the first 2 are really weak, but that seems like a poor marketing strategy to write like the 2 week ones first. So I get the vibe that they're all gonna be like that, where there's just not much information. Like if you Google their names and read their Wikipedia page, which I have done, it's basically all the information that's in here. And there's really not anything else, and it doesn't do anything. It doesn't add anything. It's not interesting. Like I'm gonna keep reading them all because like I'm still kind of curious, and I hope that at least 1 or 2 will be like in depth, because she did say she spoke with one of the children. The author said she spoke with one of the subjects of the book. There are 8 total. I don't know. It's just like, I think it's a book that she really wanted to write and perhaps couldn't because of like the lack of information, but then she wrote it anyway. So far I'm kind of planning to unhaul this because I'm not impressed. It's just like, you can't write a book when you don't have the information, no matter how interesting the topic would be. I think there's a reason a lot of fictional books about like people who are related to Nazi higher ups exist, because I've seen a lot of historical fiction books about people who are like the daughters of high-ranking Nazi officers during the war. And I think the reason those fictional books exist is because there's not a lot of real actual information. And yeah, I'm not thoroughly loving this book. It's kind of like forcing myself to get through, and it's also like dry. I don't love the writing style. I find it kind of a struggle, and I think that might be like the translation not being great. I don't know, or it might just be a dry book, but I'm not loving this one, unfortunately.
If you notice, I actually brushed my hair for this vlog, which might be a first for like this entire vlog. I finished Children of Nazis, 2 stars. It's just like, there was nothing to this book. Like, a couple of the chapters, or a couple of the sections about specific children were a little bit more detailed, but I still think like half of each chapter was about their Nazi parents and not the child themselves. And it was just kind of like, genuinely, if you read hello spleen, if you Googled the parent, like if you Googled what's a parent, Mengele, well, he's a bad example, but if you Googled Himmler and then looked up Himmler's daughter on Wikipedia and read her Wikipedia page, you would basically get the entirety of her chapter. Like, and I'm not trying to like be mean, it's just like there is not that much information, because I was kind of curious for more, because there's not much in this book, and I was like really interested in the subject matter. So like I did that, like I went to her Wikipedia page, and like her Wikipedia page is basically what's in this book, and there just like isn't enough information to make this a detailed like good book. Like she talked to one of the children, Hans Frank, the butcher of Poland. She spoke to Nicholas Frank, who's his son and also a journalist, and he's written several books about his father and his family and stuff. And that was like interesting and a little bit more detailed than the rest of them. But most of the chapters were like really bare bones and just didn't do anything for me. Like I don't know. I should hold the book up. I left like this nice empty space for the book, and I'm just sitting here not holding it. But it didn't really do anything. Like, I wanted to really like it. I think the subject matter was interesting, but I think the author couldn't actually deliver on enough information to make it worthwhile. So, yeah, I don't know. I was really disappointed because I did think this sounded fascinating. Yeah, if you don't mind stuff being like really vague, and like, or not really vague, but like there's very limited information available, and she worked with what she had, and I give her kudos for that. But like, it just, I don't know, I couldn't find myself recommending this book to anyone because there wasn't much to it at the end of the day. Basically, like, the thing that made it easiest to get through was just the chapters were so short. Was that it was easy to be like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and force myself to get through a chapter. And, like, there would be a couple of interesting things, but it was just so much, like, here's a general summary of who their father was. Here's a little bit of information on their life growing up, and then a little bit of information on
their life after their father was dead or imprisoned or whatever. And like that was kind of every chapter. Yeah, so really disappointed with that, because I did want so much to love that. And I think at this point I'm going to end the vlog, because today, or yesterday really, I decided that I'm going to be off from work for the next week and a half. I mean, I decided. I had COVID, so I couldn't go back. And my quarantine period just ended, and they told me I needed a negative test to come back. And I had like 3 days of work before I go on my vacation. So I was just like, it's not worth it for 3 days of work to try to get a test like immediately. So I just kind of was like, guess who still has COVID? So I'm gonna end this vlog, and then the next vlog is actually going to be a themed vlog. We'll see how that goes, but I thought it would be fun because I've wanted to do one for a while. It's just like, I didn't really have the time. And now I have the time. So I've been reading like a book a day, and I'm just kind of curious how long I can keep that up, which is not the point of the vlog, but like it'd be cool if I could keep that up for a little bit, but we'll see. I'm actually gonna go film the intro to the new vlog right now. So yeah, look forward to that one, because I think that one's going to be fun for me mostly, but perhaps to watch as well.